Good evening, thanks for joining us on Scottish Rugby Live. We're at Broadwood Stadium in Cumbernauld for Scotland's second Six Nations International. The visitors, France, will join Scotland on the field of play in just a couple of minutes' time. Cumbernauld, of course, home of Clyde Football Club, a stadium built in 1994 at a cost of £8 million. There's the visitors then this evening, and they have made 7 changes from last weekend's victory over Ireland. France have a pretty strong lineup there. I'll bring Chris Patterson in just a second. They're skippered this evening by their scrum half, Arthur Koval. They've got a lot of power in the backs. Their centres are both Leon players, Sugary and Barassi, and Toulouse make up the full-back and right wing of Touzon and Lubel. And scrum half Arthur Koval will lead out the side. Chris, as we mentioned, a win over Ireland last weekend has set them on their way with 5 tries. And that side, looking just at the back division, there's a lot of flair in these young French players.
There is. There's a win with 34 points to 24. Most of the points were scored in the first half for France. They conceded tries late on, so you just maybe concerned a little bit about the French fitness as Ireland came back into that game. But there's some sparkling talent, as you say, in that French backline. Emile Ntamak, at number 10, scored 2 tries. It's Romain Ntamak, son of Emile. I get my generations mixed up. And Arthur Koval, the 9, is very, very sharp indeed. So there's 2 really elusive, sharp, experienced players. Ntamak played last year as well in the under-20s Six Nations, as well as playing for Toulouse, first team in France. So there's experience there, and he'll guide the changes. 4 changes in the back line, 3 in the pack, but it is an experienced, big and aggressive-looking French side.
And in the forwards, they'll certainly be looking at the power of Heggie, Zagur and Lamadley in that back row to carry ball this evening on what is a very good artificial surface here at Broadwood. That then is a quick look at the French under-20s team this evening. The Scots themselves, Stevie Scott has made 3 changes after last weekend's 36-3 defeat at the hands of Wales. And the skipper tonight, as always, by Robbie Smith, the hooker. But once again, they'll be looking at the pace and skill of the likes of Logan Trotter and Kyle Rowe on the wings. Rowe of Glasgow Hawks and Trotter of Stirling County, both enjoying some first-team experience in the Premiership this season. At club level, Stafford McDowell, who's the vice-captain, is alongside Callum McClelland in the centres. And, of course, Paddy Dewhurst of Ayr is the full-back. And perhaps some pressure on Charlie Chapman and Ross Thompson in the early stages, Chris, because these guys, on the back of a 36-3 defeat, will be wanting to start the game promisingly and create opportunities for these backs. Yeah, that's where the changes were made at half-back as well. Charlie Chapman coming in at 9 and Ross Thompson in at 10. Callum McClelland moves from 10 to 12 in that midfield, so they'll be looking to control the game. Obviously, the lineup didn't function particularly well last week for Scotland under-20s down in France. They were beaten 36-3 by Wales down in Colwyn Bay. So they'll be looking for a much better result. A good start is always important against the French. And let's hope the Scottish lads can get that here this evening. Well, the French team have come on to the pit field of play. And the biggest cheer of the night so far welcomes the Scotland team wearing their tracksuits. Of course, they will be in the white jerseys this evening, as is tradition when they host a match against the French. The pipe band in position to play the 2 respective national anthems. La Marseillaise will then follow Flower of Scotland, and then we'll get the game underway.
Ladies and gentlemen, we ask you to be upstanding for the national anthems. now the national anthem of Scotland.
A rendition of Flower of Scotland then, as the teams head back to the touchline to remove their tracksuits. Our referee this evening is a former Harlequins scrum half, Carol Dixon. And France, it looks as if they're certainly very much ready for this one. Chris, they went into the dressing rooms a little bit earlier than the Scots, but their warm-up was very vigorous, and I think we're expecting a very fast-paced opening from the visitors.
Yeah, it's part of the French tradition, isn't it? But physicality is also part of the French tradition as well. We'll join the commentary box as well this evening with special comments from Brian Easton, the BT Sport Scottish Rugby Academy coach. There's 12 BT Sport Scottish Rugby Academy players and the Scotland side facing his French team. Brian, what are your thoughts and I suppose wishes for the opening 40 minutes?
I think wishes for the opening 40 minutes is to get a little bit more accurate the start from last week. You know, Scotland started off last week in the first 5-10 minutes, had a lot of possession. Unfortunately, line out wasn't accurate enough and a couple of mistakes there. So they were hoping tonight just to put a little bit more pressure on this French side.
Scotland then with the kick-off, hoisted high just outside that French 22, taking down the forwards already. Winning ball there, and in position is their captain, Koval, to try and recycle some ball, but the French have got a drive on just close to the touchline. Away they come with the ball. The little pop pass infield is carried forward just towards that French 10, recycled by Koval, the skipper and scrum half once again. They put boot to ball. They've got good skilled kickers, and into Mac, who certainly racked up the points against Ireland. But Scotland return the ball with interest. It comes now to the fullback, Matty Lubal. And Lubal back in field into Mac, hoists a high one. Little shoulder charge after, a little bit extra there, but taken down nicely by Chapman, the scrum half of Scotland. Carried into French territory. Scotland looking for some quick recycle ball here. Picked up by the second row, Jamie Hodgson. And once again, Chapman goes in, just fields it into French territory. A good little drop of the shoulder there from Robbie Smith, the captain, Scotland hooker. So this is what Scotland are looking for in the early stages. Plenty of possession, but some quicker ball if they can. And back it comes just on the edge of halfway. Recycle through the hands, trying to get it out to that left-hand wing as Ross Thompson comes into play. Chapman once more, back in field. In the back row tonight of Scotland, Guy Graham, Archie Erskine and Devant O'Jaffe looking to try and get some ball. As Scotland put boot to ball this time, but shepherded well there by the left wing. And Pierre Boudillon is a 6'5", 16-stone winger, plenty of power there. Koval outside that 22. Early stages of this one, no scoring, almost 2 minutes on the clock. You're listening and watching Scottish Rugby Live from Broadwood Stadium, the second instalment of the Six Nations campaign for these under-20 players. The box kick underneath it is the left winger Kyle Rowe, gathers and then releases on towards the fullback Dewhurst. Dewhurst was in two minds, it seemed to be there, and it's been intercepted and carried forward, and suddenly the French are in a much more attacking position now, and they're scrum half, Arthur Koval, is directing operations as Scotland are penalised. 2.5 minutes of the first half gone. Chris, Scotland showing some promise in and around halfway, but they know any mistakes like that, if they're not completely switched on and they're passing crisp, then they're going to concede penalties, and this is an ideal opportunity for France to take the lead.
Yeah, it's a really good start to the game actually. It's 2 minutes 30 of continuous rugby. A wonderful kick-off taken out the air by the French, who set up that driving maul, and then from there Scotland had most of the attacking opportunities. They held on to possession well, they attacked the edge, they moved the ball to the outside, maybe a sign of how they're hoping to try and play this game. But then that kick came in from Intimac. It was well fielded initially by Kyle Rowe and Paddy Dewhurst, but the pressure came on. They've tried to force a pass, and then getting back and trying to recover, the French won the penalty. So what's that, just about 30 metres out, just to the left of the posts. Romain Intimac's first opportunity for 3 points. Is an excellent kicker. Let's see how he goes.
Intimac, sorry Chris, here he goes, right-footed, nice crisp strike, and it's good. And Intimac, he can do some damage, Romain Intimac. And he scored the opening points, 19 on the 1st of May, the Toulouse standoff. And he'll certainly get a very good education there in France, as Scotland then immediately looking to try and respond, conceding points inside the first 3 minutes. Certainly not what Stevie Scott, the Scotland coach, was looking for. From the kick-off then, Ross Thompson again, just this time inside that 22. Intimac in a good position as France, they're the team all in blue this evening. Recycle ball just on the edge of the 22. Once again, Koval just comes in, has a look to his right hand side to see what's on there, and it's carried forward. The back row linking up with the second row. That was good work from Geresi, the Grenoble player. Comes back now towards Zagur, and Sacha Zagur is able to go no further, but again it's recycled. Intimac through the hands this time. France building just on the edge of that 22. Now up towards that Scotland 10. Scotland putting the tackles in, trying to play a high defensive line at the moment. Trailing by 3 points to 0. That Intimac penalty on 3 minutes. And that's great handling here from the French as it's carried up towards, and just over halfway now. They're galloping away, our France here. Tails up after taking that lead. And it was Coolingar that was up in play there in support of the breaking play. And now it's outside centre, Barassi of Lyon, with Lebal, the fullback, in support as well. On the edge of that 22. Comes back now and taken on there by Higgy and Zagur. Back towards Demba Bamba, was in position, but the little grubber kick forces Scotland back. Well, it looked as if it was going to be inside the 22, but the flag up just the other side of the 22 metre line, and Scotland will have the throw in. And this very important, Chris, because the throw-ins, especially early on in the game last weekend, were somewhat shaky.
Yeah, the line-out didn't go to plan. Obviously a bit of time spent on that through the week to try and improve that, but we must say, I think we know already what France are going to try and do. The ball's dry, the pitch is dry, they're here to play. Some wonderful handling skills from the front row especially, and a bit of pressure on the Scottish line already.
Robbie Smith with that throw in there. I think the referee, Carl Dixon, is given a knock on, so it will be another set play, a scrum, first of the evening, and we'll see the respective power of the packs in this scrummage, just sitting out with the Scotland 22 at the moment.
Yeah, frustrating there. Frustrating there for Scotland, because the throw wasn't. They went to the front of the line out, and then Archie Erskine, I think, just couldn't quite keep hold of the ball.
Brian, as well, talk us through the speed of the phases early on, because that's one thing I think the Scotland support, and you'd picked up on last weekend, looking for the play at the breakdown and the phases to be a bit sharper, a bit quicker.
Yeah, last week the Scotland would not have been too happy with their breakdown speed. I think when you look at first phase stuff, they were very slow in terms of 5-6 seconds, and then looking at phase play. But you look at the way France are playing just now, their phase play has been it's very quick. You look at them playing, they're playing a lot of the front five off 9 to start with. They're hitting up through the middle, a lot of tip-ons. You look at Demba Bamba carrying right through the middle, right to start, and then Romain Intimac playing right on the edge. And as Chris says, they're here to play.
So France with the scrum, and it's their skipper, Arthur Koval. Pops it in, picked up there by the number 8, carried on by the left wing, Boudillon. And as I say, a very powerful player, but just knocking on there, and the Scotland supporters certainly appreciating the defensive efforts there.
Well, that was good defence. That was really good defence. France deliberately just wanted to set up a one-on-one with their big left winger, Boudinot, and you say he's a big lad, and it was against Kyle Rowe. So the rest of the French attackers stood on the left-hand side of the scrum. There was about 12 metres to play in, and well, it was just a straight-out one-on-one, really, wasn't it? And early on in the game, for Kyle Rowe to make that good low tackle, dislodge the ball, force a turnover, is really good defensive play. He's rubbing his shoulder a little bit now, but he'll be proud with that effort.
Yeah, he certainly tackled the La Rochelle winger there, 6'5", 16 stone as well. It's a big unit out in the wing, Chapman. But you see the power of the French scrum there. It's picked up just at the base, and it just scrambled away from the base of the scrum. And the Scotland backs doing well again. Kyle Rowe carrying it up towards the edge of that 22, and Scotland will want to just ship this ball away from danger, as Chapman now has got some options here. It's planted left-footed just into touch there, and Scotland, I suppose, Chris, just had to do the simple thing. France, though, scurrying away. Matty Lebel carried forward now. Lebel with a nice little offload. Suddenly France are across on that left-hand side, stretching the Scotland defence once more. You can see how quickly they recycle ball, the French. They're up almost over the gain line once more towards the edge of the 22, bringing the forwards into play. The ball is spilled, comes back on the French side, and once again into Mac. Lovely, delicate little chip. Scotland, well, it's gathered there by Paddy Dewhurst under a bit of pressure inside that 22. It's fast-flowing stuff at the moment, almost 9 minutes gone. And remember, France leading by 3 points to 0. Ntamak with the penalty. That coming in 3 minutes. And Chris, Scotland really have to keep their heads switched on in this game.
Well, exactly, as we see Chapman clearing the ball. This one goes off the field again. It's going to be a second quick line in a row, but I think the ball was maybe touched in flight. It was charged down, so it will be a Scotland throw. But yeah, exactly, Stuart. The pace for 9 minutes is outstanding. There's already one or two guys down on their knees. That is such a high tempo, and quick throws as well. So Scotland had a really good exit. Ross Thompson with a long kick to touch. It went over the touchline, but then it was fed in immediately, and it just shows you that these guys are here to play. Scotland's line it now, and they want to play at a tempo as well. Jamie Hodgson winning really good ball. It's a real confidence booster for the Scottish line out.
Certainly a confidence booster for both the captain, Robbie Smith, throwing in, and for Hodgson. The box kick, the referee has spotted something though, just as Chapman released a high up and under there. So France having to backpedal, as Scotland now will want to try and make inroads into French territory. We've played just over 10 minutes of the first half here at Broadwood. France leading by 3 points to 0.
And although the Scottish lads are 3-0 down, France have had all the possession, most of the territory, and they've almost shown their hand already, so that the Scotland guys can take confidence in the sense that their defence has stood firm other than the 3 points from the boot. They've been quick to get away from the tackle, so when the tackle's been made, they've bounced up onto their feet. They've been a little narrow at times, but at least they've got numbers on their feet, which makes it much more difficult for the French to attack against. If Scotland overcommit to the breakdown, then it leaves a lot of space for this French flair to attack.
Good solid kick there from Thompson, one at the back of the line as well. Archie Erskine doing well just at the back, and Scotland now with a drive on here. The driving maul, the crowd cheering them on as they're looking to get a bit closer towards that 22. France just under a little bit of pressure at the moment. Scotland will want to make this count. Through the hands, worked very nicely indeed. Scotland a one-on-one situation there. It was taken into contact by Callum McClelland. Chapman again. He himself directing operations, makes the ball playable and feeds it to his right hand side. And the Scotland backs now in position just on the edge of halfway. Once more they go into French territory up towards that 10-metre line. And again Chapman feeding it towards that left hand side. Quick touch there from Hodgson. Little grubber kick. France have got eyes on the ball. That came off the left foot there of their fullback, Matty Labal, with a chance just on the edge of the 22. France look to have secured ball here. Koval is going to play this to his left hand side. Rather flat pass, but taken on well there by the French. And they've won possession again, as Scotland doing a lot of hard work to get up the field somewhat. plenty of fight, but not so much distance there. A one-on-one challenge, and neither winger coming away with the ball on this occasion. But that little battle, Chris, is beginning already to be quite a tasty affair, because we mentioned that Pierre Boudillon, with his build and height, will put himself about. But the Scotland players are certainly not going to be frightened to go on a one-on-one with him.
No, that's a fair contest in there. As Kyle Rowe has already put in a good tackle, as you said, he's carried well. And he got up physically in there. They're just ball spilling forward with the contestable kick. That's a slight change in what the tactic had been so far. The French have kicked quite a lot of possessions long. Scotland have covered the backfield really well, so that time they went for the contestable kick and have managed to win it back. The French scrum looked pretty impressive early on, and then certainly in the second scrum. So this is a great attacking opportunity for France. The whole width of the field to play on. If you get a dominant scrum, the right winger's round as well. So you've got all the French backlines standing on the left-hand side of the scrum, ready and waiting to attack.
Lamardley just at the back of the scrum, just trying to control the ball with his right foot there. His scrum half, Cowell and skipper now, goes on the blind side, up and over the 10. Little chip kick over Kyle Rowe. It's a kick and chase here, a 3-on-1 situation. Scotland shepherding it out there. It comes back to their vice-captain, McDowell. And really from the scrum half, he went the blind side. We were expecting him to feed it back into open play there, because he had very little blind side to play with. But again, just showing the confidence of the French skipper, Arthur Cowell, the Stade Francais player. 13 stone, 5'10", and plenty of pace.
Well, Brian, you know about the scrum half. You've watched them, you've been impressed.
Yeah, really impressed. He's 14 times he's played this season for Stade Francais, and you just look at the control that he's had. He's played it through the forwards, he's played through the 10, but just look at it's going to be a little bit easier for him tonight. You look at that scrum, the first two scrums, one Scotland but one France, really under pressure, and then he just sniped up the short side there. He looked pretty quick there going up against Kyle Rowe as well.
It's good awareness, wasn't it? He just knew that everyone had drifted over to the left-hand side or the right-hand side of the French scrum, leaving him just 5 metres. Kyle Rowe got back and covered it well.
5 metres then from the Scotland line. France again controlling it. Lamardley, the number 8. It's picked up. It's on towards the inside centre. Good work by the respective left and right there. Sugary and Barassi coming into play. Cowell back infield. Again the forwards just lining up to take the contact here as France press the Scotland line. 14.5 on the clock. France leading by 3 points to 0. That's the Scotland line you can see on the screen there. Demba Bamba and Coolangatt up in play. Bamba is the tight head prop, just backing off. France think that they've managed to get across the line. The referee is signalling it's good, and France has scored their opening try of the game. 14.5 minutes on the clock, and you have to say a lot of that coming from the hard work of the scrum half to put the Scottish defence under pressure. And really from 5 metres out, a good controlled, concerted effort, forwards and backs alike. And France are in for the opening try of the game. 15 minutes gone, and they've taken full advantage there, 8-0 with a kick to come.
Came from that really solid scrum, didn't it? It allowed them to attack the right-hand side. Initially defended very, very well by Scotland, because they were only 5 metres from the line, and there's an intricate move involving Lamardley at 8 and Barassi at 13. But thereafter just became about having the patience and the skill execution to retain possession, bludgeon away at the line. And we think it was maybe Thomas Laval who got over underneath the post, or just to the right hand side of the post of the French first try.
Scored by number 8, Maxon Lamardley.
Well, it's actually Lamardley that got it at the bottom of the bodies. Intermac makes no mistake with the conversion, and France extend their lead to 10 points to 0 after 15 minutes, and they've had most of the attack. Scotland have defended bravely, but the French are here to play, and they're very, very quick.
And Brian, Stevie Scott certainly knew that the French would be physical. They would be very sharp as well. They would offer a lot in open play, but they can't really at this stage in the game change from the game plan and the preparation that's gone into this last week after last weekend's defeat at the hands of Wales. They'll need to stick to plan A at the moment.
I think they do, and I think they've actually defended quite well at times. They defended well. Chris was talking about that short snipe up the short side. I thought they defended very well on that. They've kicked a little bit more this week, Scotland. Ross Thompson's kicked 3 times already. Charlie Chapman's kicked as well. And so Scotland are looking probably to attack a little bit more from kicks. Some good defence there.
Dewhurst under pressure was able to win that high ball, and Scotland and France now with almost 17 minutes of the first half gone. It's going to be another set play, a scrummage here. And in fact, will be a line out, of course, the ball just going out to play there. And it was Robbie Smith who has just changed the ball there. The option of the ball has changed. So Robbie Smith, the Scotland skipper, in the white jersey with that purple and blue trim. This is an important line out. Been a little bit more secure in the early stages. One towards the back of the line. And Scotland, well, again a knock on coming once the ball had been secured there. And with 17 and a half minutes off the first half gone, Scotland, they can't afford, Chris, for these mistakes to start creeping into a game. They're trailing by 10 points to nil.
Well, they've had 3 line-outs. They've lost 2 and won 1, but in the 2 they've lost, this is going to sound ridiculous, but they've won them first. So the line-out actually has been executed reasonably well, but it's just been the delivery of the ball that's then been the problem too. Sort of handling errors after the ball was won. So it goes down as line-outs lost, and cumulatively on last week's line-out statistics, it doesn't make them look any better, but they've got to take the confidence they're actually winning the ball. They've just got to be far more accurate in the execution, the final execution of the play.
France then with the scrum. Koval, again the tactic of the number 8 Lamardi, very confident to control it, comes back to Intimac, and the crossfield kick again looks as if it's well weighted there, and over, come flying over was Lucas Touzon, the Toulouse winger, and he almost made Scotland pay, again showing his pace, and a very good weighted kick there. I mean, Chris, somebody who was very good with and very accomplished with the boot, you'll appreciate that sort of skill from open play.
Well, the other very much so, and the other skillful thing about it is we'll see in the full repertoire. We've seen Intimac, he's kicked long, he's kicked high in contestable kicks. There's been chips and chases from Koval, the 9, that was the attacking kick pass. So there's the full array already in the opening 19 minutes from France. It shows the skill level they have and the wide range of skills they have, but that one just sat up, didn't it? Paddy Dewhurst managed to get in and dislodge the ball from Matthias Lebel. He knocked it forward, and now Scotland's opportunity to attack. This is a big scrum as well, difficult from right hand side, but they'll be looking to keep it rock solid and move it in and away as quick as possible. Yeah,
Finlay Richardson and Sean Gunn alongside Robbie Smith in that front row for Scotland. Again under pressure, France with the drive on, trying to win some turnover ball. Scotland scamper away as it begins to splinter. Chapman just to his left hand side. Scotland carrying some ball into French jerseys there. Back into the body of the kirk it goes. And Scotland again creeping up ever closer towards that 10-metre line. This time it's Ewan Johnston, the ball carrier. Chapman again in position, so too is their skipper, Robbie Smith. Willing ball carrier on this occasion. Chapman looks to try and dig the ball out. It's going to be a box kick here from Thompson. And Ross Thompson, that's straight into touch there from Thompson. And again, it's these mistakes, the knock-ons and kicking straight into touch, just really handing possession and opportunities back to a French side. With the opening quarter played, a French team leading by 10 points to nil.
Yeah, and you can see how hard Scotland had to work there from the scrum. Ona Jaffe picked up and made good ground from a retreating scrum, but thereafter, Brian, the pressure and the breakdown from the French just makes it really hard for Scotland to get clean ball to attack from.
Yeah, I'm just watching France here off the ball. Defensively, they're doing really well. And Ona Jaffe, as you say, Chris, did well off that scrum. They're under a lot of pressure, but France are really competing hard at the breakdown and making the ball hard for Scotland. Ross had to kick away and was put under a lot of pressure, and hence kicking straight out.
Maxime Lamotte with the throw in for France. Again, they're driven sideways. Demba Bamba in the thick of it, but the ball comes back now towards the scrum half. Koval just retreated as the secondary drive, it splinters, it comes back on the Scotland side. Good work there by Ewan Johnston as he tumbles to the ground, the lock forward. Scotland again, Chapman in position, but the French penalised on the edge of the Scotland 22. And on a rare occasion when France were making inroads into the Scotland half, they're penalised and Scotland can breathe again, trailing by 10 points to nil, 21 minutes on the clock.
Yeah, Thomas Laval penalised there for using his hands in the rack. Ross Thompson's missed the touch, and we're going to see the counter-attack opportunity here for the French. Lebel with a long pass out to left hand side into Mac. Scottish defence hold up to it so far.
And France recycling ball very quickly. You can see the pace again. The scrum half, the captain Koval back to his right hand side. He had plenty of options coming from deeper lying positions. Coolangar, the prop forward, the loose head in position as well. Lovely weighted grubber kick once more into Mac, playing with plenty of confidence. And as we mentioned, a great grounding coming from Toulouse. 19 just at the beginning of May, and he already looks a real prospect, Brian.
Yeah, he does, and I think the only concern there is we talked right at the start about accuracy of Scotland. Chris is saying, looking at line-outs, lost 3 line-outs, they've been winning the ball but then making a mistake. You look at that, Callum McClellan, it was kicking for touch there, missed touch, and with a French team like this that can play from anywhere, they've ended up back in their own side in 22, so we really have to be a little bit more accurate every time we've got the ball.
The throw in from Scotland there. Once more the captain joins in, Robbie Smith. And Scotland just trying to slow things up, comes back. Chapman, almost the box kick. And again, that does find touch. And that takes them a bit closer to halfway. And I suppose it sounds maybe a bit silly, Chris, but it's just all about keeping their heads, doing the simple things well, and gradually building some phases and building ground and territory.
Absolutely, the territory is where they've struggled really, and as Brian says, that's partly from Scotland mistakes. That was a really good kick by Chapman there to get not only into touch but far enough off the field so France couldn't take the quick line out. It's only taken us up to halfway. Scotland have had next to no time spent in the French 22, so they'll be looking to creep further up the field. But of course, from defence at the moment, from this line out again, the French go to the front. Another executed move.
A short stab throw in there from Lamotte on towards the back row, and Higi and Zerigour are familiar with that tactic, I understand, on occasion playing towards the front and then being the 2 breakaway runners. But on that occasion the ball just couldn't come back towards the hooker, and Scotland have now one ball in the Scotland 10. Again, it's a night where a towel on hand is very useful before the throw. This time Robbie Smith throwing plenty of height in the ball, but again a mistake with the throw-in, and a little bit of afters, and I would imagine that tempers will be frayed during the course of this 80 minutes, because both sets of players are very passionate and know what it means to play for the jersey there. The referee getting right into the thick of it, Carl Dixon, and just allowing these players to settle down before maybe having a word, possibly taking some action. But after 23 minutes, another mistake in the Scotland camp, and they're just getting a little hot under the collar at the moment, Chris.
Yeah, it's frustration, isn't it? Sometimes these things are born out of frustration from things that you're in control of. Obviously the line out is getting a little bit to Scotland. As you see Carl Dixon having a word with the skippers, he's just got to take all the time. There's no one you can individually finger or blame for that. It's just a one in all in scenario where you just let off some stealing a little bit. But the long and the short of it is, it's another opportunity for Scotland that they've not taken by an error from first phase. French won the last line, and the ball back to Lamotte, the hooker, just wasn't as accurately delivered as they would like. Otherwise that would have been another attack for them. So Scotland got the break from there, won the line, and then turned it over right away. It's frustrating at times. How can you change that in the game? Or you could cut your numbers in the line out. Sometimes it's easier to win a shorter line out. You can take quick line outs and just get them in any old way if the ball's not too far off the field or of course have been touched. But a simple call that you can go to and you can trust, throw to the front, get up, win your ball, and then perhaps drive and you get your hands in possession for a little bit, I think is what you need to look at in the line out.
Guy Graham has just come off, and Rory Darge of Melrose onto the field of play. And Rory Darge, just a 17-year-old, but this great experience for the youngster, the teenager, immediately involved in the action, as France will have the put into the scrum. 24 and a half minutes off the first half gone. France leading by 10 points to 0, and the skipper there in your picture, Koval, the scrum half, rolling the ball in. Similar tactic as before, as Lamadley controlling it with his right foot. Lamadley now picks up good work there from the Scots on the back row. Erskine coming around very sharply indeed, just to deny the quick ball. Koval now almost knocked sideways, but he's able to find a prop forward, and it's carried just a couple of metres. Koval again steals a few yards. Nice little recycle as well, as the Scots have got to be sharp in defence. And that was a good block initially there by Sean Gunn, just to close the door on the French line. Now into Mack, playing it through the hands this time. Again, the back line coming up as one, but Scotland have managed to steal ball. The referee, though, intervening. 25 minutes on the clock is going to bring play back to a situation just across this near side as we watch from our commentary position, watching on the pictures here. at Broadwood Stadium, home of Clyde Football Club, but for this evening, home of the Scotland under-20s against France. Scotland conceding the penalty, an offside decision, and France will go for the posts.
Yeah, it's good to see Carl Dixon play a reasonably long advantage there to see if someone did come of it, but Scotland had straight offside from the line-out drive, from the scrum, sorry. But I must say that the skill level of the French team is pretty outstanding. Lamotte, the hooker, has taken a lot of passes under pressure off 9. Colville has been probing in that 9 position, winning yards just either side of the breakdown, looking for the tired front 5 defenders of Scotland. But every catch they've had to make under pressure, the French lads have taken it, and it's allowed them to retain possession and keep applying more pressure in terms of territory and points in Scotland.
And Tamak then having a little look. He's already landed a penalty and a conversion. This is second penalty goal. Looks pretty good from here. The touch judges agree, and it's France extending the lead 13 points to 0. 26 minutes off the first half gone. And Romain Ntamak just adding to his personal tally. And Ntamak coming out of the conveyor belt of talent from Toulouse. And Brian, just a quick word as well. You look at that back line, you've got Ntamak of Toulouse, Touzon, the winger as well, the right winger, and Lebel, all of Toulouse. I mean, it's a really highly skilled grounding for these players, and a great platform to build a career.
The platform that they're playing at is outstanding for them. You know, they're not just playing in academies, or they're actually playing in the top sides. You look at Colville playing for Stade Francais, playing for Toulouse, these guys as well, and here they go again on the end. Their skills are outstanding. Look at this 2v1 on the left hand side, and the pace that they're passing the ball at is excellent.
Again, forwards and backs linking up well. Colville up with the action. He's covered an almighty amount of ground so far, the French captain. Again, back infields, a crunching challenge there. Solid tackling there from the Scots, individually and collectively. But Colville again, just waving the left arm, pointing and directing operations. Taken on this time, that's Demba Bamba, carrying it up and over that 10-metre line, comes crashing to the turf. The tight head prop, Colville just in behind him once more. Ntamak again, lovely little sidestep from Ntamak, up and over that 10-metre line, over the 22, carried forward now. France, have they managed to ground the ball? They have indeed, and that's Boudillon, Pierre Boudillon, the left winger, with the try. Another score there for France, and again, great work from the skipper, Arthur Colville, bringing in Demba Bamba in open play, and again the speed of the recycle ball, the winger picking it up, one thing and one thing only in mind, and he scored.
Well, that is one of the best tries you'll see this weekend, I can guarantee you that. That was caught from the kickoff, and the initial counter-attack up the left-hand side was just supreme execution of taking the pass under pressure, giving it under pressure, attacking space, and then you had massive carries in the midfield by Bamba initially. He was hit hard by Sean Gunn, but retained possession, got over the gain line. You had the class of the break of Romain Ntamak, slicing through inside Archie Erskine, and then delivering a wonderful 12 or 15 metre pass off his left hand to Boudinot, who managed to fight over and finish well in that right hand corner. I'll say it again, that's one of the best tries you'll see, well, if not this weekend, certainly in this Six Nations.
Ntamak then, who was part of the French players involved in scoring that try, very much the architect of one of the phases. And Ntamak, now that looks as if it's curling in, it's swinging in very nicely, and it's a converted try for France, adding to Scotland's woes. Scotland now trailing with 29 minutes on the clock. It's Scotland 0, France 20. And again, it's just down to the pace, the confidence, the assuredness of the play, Brian. We've seen all the way through the half. A perfect example there.
Yeah, I've been overly impressed with France. You know, there's another kick-off taken, some real skill, but they're trying everything. They've had short kicks, long kicks. They've gone through the middle. They've gone wide. They've gone from their own line. They've gone from inside the 22, and their skills are outstanding. And you look at them again. This is left to right this time, movement. So you know, Scotland really have to look after the ball a little bit more when they have got it, and start putting the French under a little more pressure with ball in hand.
Ntamak there, that ball just allowed to bobble, but picked up very nicely again by Sugari. And the inside centre, his route beyond the 10 just blocked off. But again, France operating like an express train. And there's the conductor at the moment, Kouwal, just feeding the ball inside. This time it was Cooligar, the loose head prop, but he couldn't go too far. Scotland have won back possession. The home supporters trying to cheer on the Scotland side with half an hour of the first half gone. 20 points to 0 to France. Kyle Rowe, great battling there from Kyle Rowe as he carried it back infield. Chapman once more, a thumping challenge there as Scotland and France coming together. You could almost feel the ground shake beneath her feet as Demba Bamba carries the ball forward. France winning back possession as Scotland and their number 8 get back to their feet. But I would think Jaffe will certainly feel that one in the morning. Again, France trying to slice their way through the initial line of Scotland defence between the 10 and the 22 over on that far side, trying to pick their pocket once more. Brilliant passage of play again as it's the outside centre, Barassi carrying it up. Barassi still is going. He looks as if he hasn't securely grounded the ball there. But talk about determination. And France just seem to be going through the gears so much quicker, just showing their skill levels, their confidence, their pace and drive. And again, that was almost a try.
Well,
Chris Watson that we were going to see for years.
Yeah, we thought Sugere I think he just dropped it as he went over, playing a penalty advantage after another burst close to line by Barassi. But the build-up play and the attacking intent from France is just absolutely outstanding to see. And it all actually came off the back of a colossal tackle in the midfield, so the defence is up to it as well. What Scotland need to do is they need to get a hold of the game in terms of the physicality. Now that France are playing so quickly and so fluently, there has to be a starting point for Scotland. There has to be a big collision. They have to get their hands on the ball, slow it down. There really needs to be a good defensive set to disrupt the French momentum.
Maxime Lamotte just with the throw in towards the front of the line. He joins in. He's got the ball under his arm just now. He's over the line. He touches down. And Brian, we see it so often in the game these days where the hooker will throw in perhaps to the front towards the middle of the line. He will then join in the ball, often receive the ball, and he's the one that is able to carry the ball over the line and touchdown, particularly tries from that sort of distance, 5-10 metres out.
From 5 metres out, the French are renowned from that. You know, their driving lineouts, their mauls have been excellent. But you know, let's go back to where France have been positive tonight. They've been positive in the way they've played, but it's come from their physicality. I think their scrum, their lineout. You just look at the lineout drive there. The scrum has been physical, but the turnovers there from a two-team hit, both middle rows, Lavo and Garassi in the middle row hitting on Jaffe, and that's what's putting Scotland under pressure, is the physicality. Every time Scotland have had the ball, France have competed at the breakdown. So Scotland do need to get a starting point, whether it is kicks, whether it is, you know, competitive kicks going up, putting them under pressure, but they need to keep the ball and stop the silly inaccuracies.
And I think the opening 2 tries for France, Scotland defended reasonably well, and you know, France had to score them. They did really well to score them. That there, I think Stevie Scott and the coaching staff will be disappointed by it because it was too soft. It was too easy to throw the line out, get it set up and take them all over the line. Compared to the first 2, that's much harder to take.
Into Mac then from over on that left hand side again, no mistake. And when you've got somebody of his kicking ability, he just keeps the scoreboard ticking over, even in games that are maybe a little bit closer than this. And you'd imagine Stevie Scott will just be wishing on half time now to get the players back in, regroup.
They need to get a foothold in the game. Now, it's easy for us up here to say that, but it could come from a big collision. Here's a turnover now. Scotland really need to keep the hold of possession through a number of phases here and apply some pressure on France.
Scotland then from just beyond that 10 metre line, initially taken on by Archie Erskine. Chapman back in field. Thompson had a little look at his options. Kyle Rowe's been working very hard. He joins into the contact situation, but it's Chapman. Oh, Chapman's found a little gap. That's more like it from the scrum half. His skipper is up in support as well. So too is Logan Trotter, who's come off his own right wing. Trotter then feeds the ball back inside, taken on there by Richardson, the tight head prop. Chapman's back in position. Scotland have a little look at their options. Taking it again into the body of the Kirk once more. Chapman. Scotland again through Thompson. They want to try and keep this momentum going as the ball just goes a little loose there. And the referee again intervening as Scotland have knocked on. But that's the sort of thing you were talking about, Chris.
Yeah, disappointing end, obviously. The ball was spilled from Callum McClellan. But the energy of in defence from the French front 5 is as good as it is in their attack. They are setting the intensity in terms of, the big collisions and applying the pressure. They're popping back to their feet, so there isn't a lot of space for Scotland to attack. Logan Trotter came on a nice late arcing run there to get in behind, and Archie Erskine offered himself, so they did retain possession. Now they have to follow that up. Although it ended up in a mistake, they have to try and follow up here with disrupting the scrum if they can. It's a big ask against a strong French scrum, Brian, but they just have to continue that phase there with some more positive play.
They do, and I think you're right about the French defence. They're really flying up, actually. The front five are coming up early, and Chapman did the right thing by picking and going round the edge. And I think there are spaces just on the inside of them. They're coming up early, possibly not shutting the gate on the inside. So Scotland, they did have a good little line break, but it's about keeping the ball as well, Chris.
And Barassi again looking dangerous on towards Lobel, the fullback, and there's one of the French try scorers, the left wing, Boudillon, but his route to the line just slowed up there outside that 22. The half-backs linking up this time on towards the prop forwards, and this time it was Coolingar, the loose head, taking the ball into contact. He's still on the deck at the moment. Into Mark over on that left-hand side. France just got 2-3 players crossing the ground very quickly. Barassi and Suguri have got plenty of running in them, the two centres. Going a bit lateral. There's Demba Bamba involved once more. Huge unit of a man. He eventually comes tumbling to the deck. But there's Koval again, the French skipper, keen to get Coolingar involved once more. The loose head takes a couple of Scotland players with him. You can just see the edge of the Scotland 22. As again it comes through the hands of the scrum half and skipper. And France want to recycle. They'll see an electronic clock in the corner. And a break here for France. They're going to be in for yet another try. This time it's the back row. Baptiste Higgy with the latest try. And that, I have to say, was knife through butter stuff.
It was. It just applied so much pressure through the direct play. Just battering forward. Demba Ba using his footwork as well as his physicality to get over the gain line. But then it was just a lovely ball again from Coville, wasn't it? Back inside to Baptiste Higgy to slice through. It's a pre-called move. He would have called it on the way to the breakdown, knowing fine well that the Scottish defence were worried about the physicality and also worried about the threat of Coville, the 9. And he knew that. He just slipped the ball back inside, and it's France's 4th try.
I think the halfbacks are really, they're playing Scotland a lot. They're attacking in so many positions of this pitch. They went round the edges, they've been going wide. That was the scrum half Koval just putting the ball back inside to the eventual try scorer, Zagur. I mean, it was just, there's been some outstanding stuff. But you look at, Sean Gunn, 3 times within that phase was knocked back by big ball carriers. And these big ball carriers are coming from all over the place, but 9 and 10 are just controlling this game for France.
You watched very closely the French under-20 performance just 7 days ago, Brian. Are you, even on tonight's evidence, surprised at the pace in which they played the game, though?
I am. They did play like this in the first half last week, I'll be honest with you, against Ireland. They were 22-3 up against Ireland at half-time last week and slowed down a little bit, but they've really put their foot on it and they've kept the foot on the throat here, and that's the one impressive thing here. You see them going again, and it looks as if they're here to play tonight.
They certainly are indeed just at the moment. Nice, very flat pass there, and Scotland, though, linking up well defensively. McClelland involved in the tackle. Again into Mack with a pass back inside, and France have just broken over that 10-metre line. Scotland get back to their feet and retreat. Koval on towards Demba Bamba, becoming an increasingly important figure in open play. So too is Koval, so the loose and the tight linking up there. And this time France are penalised on the edge of halfway, and Scotland want to get on with things as this scoreboard really ticking away from the clock ticking down towards half time. Scoreboard running away from them, 33-0.
Yeah, and a penalty. I'm just watching the ball cross over the touchline. This is a big opportunity. It's 1 minute out from half time. This could change slightly the mindset of what happens in the half time changing room, because Scotland needs something in this game, and they're already 34 points down, but this is where they just have to be clear in their execution, win the ball, apply some pressure, and this could have a big effect on the second half. It doesn't mean Scotland can come back and win it, but it could be a long second half if they don't get a foothold at the end of this first half and get some points on the board.
Robbie Smith with a deep breath then, the Scotland captain, the hooker, towards the middle of the line. They managed to secure ball, but they're driven backwards, and the referee just up with play. And Scotland across on that far side, inside the French 22, but the momentum breaks up there as once again there's a few handbags over on that far side, and from a defensive point of view these interruptions will suit France and very much go against what Scotland are trying to do when France are inside their own 22 defending Scotland ball.
Well, France looked comfortable in defence as well, didn't they? I mean, it was a nice, ideal sort of intricate move to attack down the front of the line to change the point of attack. But France, it wasn't executed quite as slickly as Stevie Scott and the Scottish guys would have liked, and allowed France to defend it reasonably comfortably down that 5-metre channel.
Lamotte towards the back of the line. This time it was Zagur that picked up the ball at the back of the line out, but the referee has a look at the clock and blows for half time. And Scotland, well, they're trailing by 34 points to 0 at the break, and they've something of a mountain to climb, because as the first half wore on, France very quickly were getting into their groove and going through the gears, but they were punishing Scotland at every opportunity. Any mistakes made by the Scots, and France were coming up with the goods, Chris.
Well, they did decide so well. I think we're being treated to an excellent exhibition of rugby from the French guys so far. They had to work hard for the first 2 tries. The third one came the driving ball, and the fourth one a searing break up the middle from Hegui, the French number 6. But other than that, it's been all France. Scotland haven't had a lot of possession. They've had very, very little territory. They've not been able to dominate in defence in order to slow the French possession down, to get their foothold in the game at all. I think we've seen a very, very good attacking French side. And Scotland under 20 will be disappointed with aspects of the game, but they've got to remain confident. They've got to believe that they can disrupt the French pack. They'll look at last week's game against Ireland, where Ireland guys scored 3 tries in the second half, and hopefully bring some of that in the next 40 minutes.
Brian, can France keep up this tempo in the next 40 minutes?
It's very difficult for them to keep up this tempo, because they've been playing at some pace for that 40 minutes there. I think Chris has highlighted it. The first 2 tries were probably a little bit more difficult for them to get to, but then after that the game opened up for them, and it's so much easier for a team on the front foot, when they've got big ball carriers putting the Scottish players on their back and they're on the front foot. They've then got a 9 and a 10 who are just picking off these centres. I know you mentioned them there at just before half time, Sugari and Barassi in the midfield. I mean, they've got real pace and they've got a little bit more space to do it. So Scotland really do have to get a foothold in this game. As Chris said, let's get a big collision, a big, a line out, a good driving line out or something. But Scotland need to kill their inaccuracies. They're winning some good line outs. Line outs are better than last week, but then they're making little mistakes after that. So, it's going to be tough for Scotland to get back in this game, but, it's a hope that we really do.
France with all the points then at Broadwood in this first half. They scored 4 converted tries and 2 penalties, and they have a handsome advantage at the interval. It's Scotland 0, France 34.
Robbie, just finished up your under-20 training session there. We're obviously sitting adjacent to the national team now. How have you enjoyed the first 3 weeks in camp so far?
Oh yeah, it's been great. It's a lot of the boys have come on and got a lot more friendly lately, which has really impacted in our training. We've come a lot more closer as a group, and that shows in how we're training. I just enjoying it so far.
Stevie Scott is head coach. How have you found having someone like Stevie, who's perhaps got a renowned reputation in the front row? How has he helped you develop as a player?
Yeah, having Stevie, obviously Stevie's a hooker as well, so he knows, for example, I learned out with my throwing. He came up to me the other day and he gave me a few tips, just saying what I need to improve. So having him, somebody like that understands what went wrong and being able to give you the experience, knowledge that he's got and tell you what to improve is good. I started off actually playing football, but never really had the finesse to be.
Which position?
I was actually a right midfielder, which, as you can imagine, didn't really have the finesse, as I say. And then I ended up getting a lot of my mates were playing rugby back home at Newton Stewart Rugby Club, and decided to give it a go and played that and a bit of golf. And there came a point where I had to choose between golf and rugby, because rugby was getting a bit more serious, and chose rugby. And yeah.
You feel like you've made the right choice?
So far, yeah. Yeah, I had a lot of mates that played at Newton Stewart. A lot of my really close friends still play there now, so I always like to, if I'm back home, go and see how they're getting on. And it's a really good club. It's a really kind of family club. There's a lot of players coming from all over the place. Around, there's only 2 clubs kind of in my area, Newton Stewart and Wigtonshire, so it brings in from quite a wide area. But yeah, it's a great place.
And playing with Ayr this season, how have you rated your season so far?
We've been all right. We haven't really got the wheels in motion yet. I think we've had some good spells, which has been good, but then we've maybe ended up with a bad loss, just making silly errors and maybe down to injuries and stuff like that. But I think we're a team that when we get it right, I think we're like unstoppable. We're just struggling to get the click at the moment, but hopefully that'll come in the kind of latter part of the season. I think Heritage are kind of close in our tails at the moment. I think they play Melrose. So yeah, we'll see how that goes on, but I think we'll be fine. Professional rugby's something that I want to do. So yeah, I guess just working hard and looking for the Six Nations and the World Cup as a shop window kind of thing, and just try to get some good performances in and try and just improve as much as I can really.
You're a Stage 3 Academy player at the moment.
Yep.
How much has that programme helped you develop as a player?
Oh, massively. Yeah. Like from where I was, looking at where I was last year to where I am now, just being in amongst training every day and having like fitness scores and stuff like that, it's just improving so much. Even like my knowledge of the game, like academy coach Ian Monaghan, he's been great this year, just for like stuff like skills and just doing it every day. It's just come on leaps and bounds.
Do you feel playing for Scotland maybe takes your game to another level?
Yeah. It's obviously when you play for Ayr and your club team or whoever that may be, it's you're playing rugby because you love the game. But when you pull the Thistle on, it's a whole different ball game. You're doing that for your family and you're representing all the hard work you've put in the past. And yeah.
So you don't think you'll make a return to football?
Nah, I don't think so. Unless I lose a few kilos.
He's over and he scored the try. McCallum gets the score for Scotland. That is Ben Robbins into the try. Right over the top of the ruck. Fantastic score. Well, here at Broadwood Stadium, it's half-time and Scotland are trailing by 34 points to 0. Chris, Stevie Scott in the home dressing room certainly will not be wanting to give the half-time address that he was hoping for at this stage, but as an ex-forward and himself, somebody who was in the front row and won 11 Scotland caps, he must be impressed by the forwards and the power of this French team.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's really hard for us to have an impartial view, but I think if we take a step back, we're witnessing a very, very good French side here. They're very comfortable in and around set piece. They've got a varied kicking game. They've kicked well and retained possession from short attacking kicks, from contestable kicks. They've kicked long and gained a lot of territory and momentum from that. the defence, when they've had to defend, which it hasn't been often, has been pretty fierce, led by their front five. And that front five have been outstanding in attack as well, carrying ball, distributing, very comfortable, catching under pressure, delivering offloads under pressure. And they've just got that, I suppose, that typical French flair across their backs, well controlled at 9 and 10, and some flair sparkled left, right and centre. So I think the first thing is, from our point of view, we've been treated to a really good performance for the French side. From a Scotland point of view, we keep saying the same thing, but that's because it's very basic, but they have to get a foothold in the game. The Scottish lads have to go to their go-to points that allows them to be competitive, whether it's a throw to the front of the line out, whether it's a quick tap to get some momentum, whether it's a big shot in defence, and then really contesting hard at the breakdown. The difficulty with contesting hard at the breakdown is if the French retain possession, then your numbers off feet and there's more space for the French to attack. But the positive of doing that is actually it allows you to buy time to get into a better position and disrupt the flow a little bit. I just feel as if the French guys they've got the control of the whole game because they're good in all areas, whereas I think Scotland have to try and disrupt the play a little bit and then just be confident in attack. They've not seen a lot of the attacking play so far. Logan Trotter ran reasonably well. Archie Erskine's carried quite hard. There's been one or two nice breaks around the base from Charlie Chapman. But we need to get Stafford McDowell running hard. You need to get Ewan Johnson in the second row running hard. Try and get our front row into the game with ball in hand rather than being up against it too much. Brian, do you agree?
I do agree, and I think it's just, it's very difficult to really get a foothold in the game when that front five are so, they are so aggressive, they're so tough on us. And I think we saw right at the start of the game, I think we saw Killian Garassi on this kick-off straight away. They took a kick-off outstandingly. The both front rows have carried the ball so well. But you're right, Chris, I think, we've really got to try and get the ball moving. France defend will always give you an edge off a first phase. So, let's have a go. I like Chapman at 9. I think he's had a little bit of a snipe. It's been good to see that. Onajafi is a good big ball carrier at 8, albeit it was put on his backside by a couple of the middle rows and a double team tackle. But yeah, let's have a go this half. It's a great opportunity for these boys against a very good France side.
Well, the Le Blues will get us underway at the start of this second half, and Romain Ntamak, who alongside Arthur Koval is skipper and scrum half, have certainly enjoyed their opening 40 minutes here at Broadwood. A referee this evening just signalling that the restart is towards the 22. It's gathered very quickly. Now how about that for a try? It's touchdown. Chris, you did spot something there from that kickoff. It was touchdown there by Lucas Touzon.
Well, the Demba Bamba was in front of the kickoff. I know he's a tight head prop. I know it's in the middle of the field, but it must be near 4 or 5 metres in front of the ball. And the referee, Carl Dixon, actually pointed at him to tell him to slow down. Now, I'm maybe clutching at straw a little bit, but if you're in front of the kicker, you're offside. That should be a penalty to Scotland, but take nothing away from the accuracy of the kickoff from Ntamak and Touzon just taking the ball without breaking stride and walking in to the left of the posts. That's a real kick in the teeth for Scotland because Demba Bamba, the tight head prop, was offside.
Well, I think Stevie Scott, they'll have been in the changes, they've been talking about getting a very good start, and that's, it's a difficult thing for Scotland now, to get a try straight from kickoff. They will have spoken at half time about getting right into the game, getting stuck into it, and there's Ntamak putting another one over. This player is outstanding, this one.
Yes, well, some puzzled looks on one or two of the spectators' faces, but pretty much just summing up exactly what Chris was saying there, that the tight head prop looked to be in an offside position. Demba Bamba, who scored the 5th try for France in last weekend's win over Ireland, and the restart kick taken down there by Lavou, the La Rochelle player.
And only to be fair, Stuart, there was 3 of our players offside at that kickoff. So it's obviously we haven't scored from it, but it's obviously something that the officials need to be keeping an eye on.
And Scotland now on the defensive as Koval feeds the ball back inside. Bamba again spins, does a full 360, straightens up. Koval again back inside to Ntamak. I'm just checking to see if there's been any changes. Just the one, Rory Darge, still on the field now. He came on in the first half one of the Scotland players down receiving a bit of treatment there, taking a very sore one. It looks as if it is the back row forward, the Boroughmuir man, Archie Erskine, that's taken a sore one. I think France have also made a change because I can see Lucas Pierre Blanquez is on as well. So no great surprise that at this stage some fresh legs and fresh heads will come on the field of play. But one thing I was going to ask you guys as well is sometimes there's been criticism recently directed at the full French 15 being a little bit one-dimensional in games. You certainly wouldn't say that about this under-20s offering this evening.
No, I think we're making up for that here this evening. I think the difference is when you play, full test rugby, it's a tense environment. It's really difficult to play, and I think what's brilliant about under-20s rugby is the fact that these young lads can express the talent they've got. It's great to watch. It's wonderful development for them. But we don't often see it at full test rugby until a game's won. I think that's what's been great about Scotland over the last, certainly the autumn tests and the way they've played over the last year or so. Disappointing last weekend in Cardiff, obviously. But Scotland have tried to play like that. And you just think if the French national team, with the talent they have, employed the strategy that the French under-20s are showing this evening, I'm pretty sure they'd be successful at it as well, Brian.
I think they would be. I think I watch a lot of top 14 rugby, and it's top 14 rugby is certainly nothing like the 20s are playing here just now at all. It's a lot of hard running rugby. La Rochelle are probably the opposite of that. You're talking about the French full side. I think, will they play like that? I don't think they will. They're picking Lionel box seats at 10 tomorrow. I think that's kind of said, right, we're going to win this game, and if we win it 3-0, we don't care how we're going to play. So I don't think you'll see France playing like that, but I agree with Chris. I think Scotland have played a kind of tempo rugby. You look at the way Gregor likes to play, line-outs coming in within 15-20 seconds of the ball going off the pitch, quick taps, quick movements. So Test rugby is completely different from this, but it's exciting watching France under-20s playing like this evening.
And in many ways last week in Cardiff, Scotland still tried to play like that, and I don't think the structure was wrong. I just feel as if, as I've said all week, the execution was wrong. So there was mistakes that were made. You see Archie Erskine getting helped off the field, limping. It's good to see he's up, he's walking off. I think it's maybe a shoulder or a chest injury. He looks pretty tired as he's replaced by Harry Butler, the big second row from Hartbury College down in Gloucestershire. So I think maybe Jamie Hodgson will drop back into the back row. But going back to Scotland, it's just the execution was off last week. So let's hope that they continue to play with that ambition on Sunday against France, but they just do it much more accurately.
Butler then joins the latest set piece as play will get underway once more. It will resume with this scrummage, and France again with the put in. The referee not satisfied with the binding as they collapse and get back to their feet once more. And Carl Dixon, the referee, who had a spell at Harlequins himself at a scrum half, so he'll appreciate the skill set required. The two men standing immediately to his left, the respective number 9s, but it's France with the put in.
France have put two attacking players on the right hand side as well, Stuart. There's only about 17 metres to go there, but it means that Scotland have to put another defender around. So if France opt to come to the left hand side here, they've got a bit of room to play in.
Yeah, it's a tighter blind side, but again, good work from the number 8. They feed it back into centre field. Again, perfectly weighted by the standoff. And the wingers now linking up. Fullback joins in, Mathieu Lebal. And the ball goes loose. Is it touchdown? France think they've got a score. And the referee, I think he's going to have a quick word with his touch judge near side here. The pace of that was quite incredible. Mathieu Lebal coming up in play. Touzon again. Great strong running from him.
But they'll be looking for, obviously the grounding they're looking at, but did the ball pass forward? He's given the try, has awarded the try. I think it was number 12, wasn't it? Seguri that followed up on the inside, but just confirming that the ball hadn't gone forward, and indeed it was touchdown. But again, a wonderful attack from the French. They put two players, as we said, on the right hand side, created space on the left hand side. The Scotland defence had to be beaten somehow, and they kept a good strong line, but that cross-field kick, that kick pass right into the arms of Touzon again, and then the work rate off the ball from Barassi to look round. He was wonderfully tackled by Logan Trotter, I think it was. Fed the ball back inside, it did hit the ground, it was grubbered over the line, but we think it was Seguri with a try.
I think the work rate off the ball has been one of the things that's really impressed me tonight with all the players. And Chris pointed out there the two players going to the right. They actually went 8-9 to go right and then came back left and really put the Scottish defence under pressure. The accuracy of that kick, but the work rate off the ball, the support lines, the running lines of these French players has been outstanding.
Into Mark then from the angle. Again, he likes to drift them in. It's swinging in nicely once more, and there's another converted try. 44 minutes gone, so just 4 minutes into the second half. Remember, we had that injury to Scotland's back row, Archie Erskine, who walked off just a few minutes ago. And it's now Scotland trailing here, as France now have a 48-0 lead. Lovely little reverse pass there. They gallop away once more, France. These ball carriers are quite sublime. Higgy now up is over the 22. He's eventually tackled. A brilliant offload there, and France are in. A glorious score. Sugary touching down the inside centre. It was the back row forward doing all the running initially, and then Sugary was in the perfect place just to touch down, and Scotland, having just sobered up after conceding yet another score. That's 3 tries in the space of 5 second half minutes, and the scoreboard just continues to tick over, and it's a very sore and difficult watch for these Scotland fans, Chris.
It is. That's frustrating to concede so quickly after half time, and then to concede 2 from almost immediately from the kickoff as well. The piece of skill to just set Baptiste Higuet free was brilliant. It was a wonderful offload at the back, but that was just outside the French 22. There has to be a tackle made between there and him eventually being dragged down deep inside the Scotland 22, and then allowing the offload again for Segre to get 2 tries in 2 minutes. But they have to work harder. Scotland players have to make them work harder to score their tries. You have to take a risk at times. Maybe you want to come and fly at the line and hit someone, but the Scotland guys have to stand up, make a hit, and try and disrupt the flow of this French 15.
Scotland then trailing by 55 points to 0 with 6 minutes of the second half gone. A deeper restart kick into Mac in position though, and France again through Koval at scrum half, and again they're just willing to run this one out of the 22 as they did. It was almost sublime the way that they broke through the Scottish defence, but very difficult for these Scottish supporters. The crowd mainly made up of Scottish fans. That's juggled, but France again just trying to work it through the centres up towards the edge of that 22.
Stuart, just to jump in there, number 20 is back, Rory Dar, just clapping his hands. He just did exactly what we spoke about. He took a chance, he got up, he made a tackle, he flew out of line, he made a tackle, he completed the tackle, he popped his feet and made a second tackle. That desire and endeavour sometimes outscores everything. We get caught up in technical play and decision making too often now. Sometimes it's just raw desire, and from a 17-year-old making his second appearance for Scotland under 20, to set an example of that is outstanding to see.
Yes, 17, it's hard to believe, the Melrose man, and he's been on for part of the first half and so far all of the second. That's a better line-out from Scotland. One at the back of the line. Joining in is their captain, Robbie Smith, trying to get a drive on here. Smith has the ball tucked in, and they're joining in now in numbers. Scotland, Butler, who's just on the park as well, joining in, but it comes back towards the half-back, now taken on by the vice-captain, Stafford McDowell. Up into that 22, comes back towards Chapman. Chapman feeding it to the left-hand side, carried forward there. Scotland again bringing the lock forwards in, and the back row is available too, as the momentum just drops ever so slightly. Scotland still inside that 22. And up with play once more was Jamie Hodgson, who did a lot of hard work and ball carrying there. He was able just to feed it to his right hand side. France now just been knocked out the way. Scotland determined to get the next points on the board with this promising situation from inside the 22. Lovely little reverse pass there on towards Logan Trotter, but his route to the line, it was a very tight blind side there for him to run into. Picked up this time by Chapman. Chapman evades the first challenge, goes to ground. Scotland looking to recycle in the white jerseys. They're in position again. It's picked up once more by the number 5 there, Jamie Hodgson of Watsonians. But again, the referee very much up with play, just bringing it back, still inside that 22. But much more promise shown there in the last couple of minutes from Scotland. And as you say, it was the 17-year-old really leading the line very well there, Rory Darge, as you quite correctly pointed out, Chris.
Yeah, and it had an effect on the supporters, it had an effect on his teammates. And Scotland in that phase were much sharper, they were in around the ball. Yes, they were still being hit hard, and it was physical, hard working around the breakdown. But there was a little spark to what they were trying to do, and a bit of aggression. And a much better attack. Chapman almost getting away up the short side. Logan Trotter having one or two attempts as well.
I thought Chapman did well going up the short side, because I think you watched France there, they had actually 3 in the backfield inside of 22, so they noticed that both wingers were back and the 9. So, Chapman to go short side was the right thing to do.
Hodgson wins it from the line out again. The hooker joins in. It's the skipper over for the try. In fact, it's number 7, I beg your pardon, it's Guy Graham, the Hoyt man. And Scotland now, the supporters have something to cheer. 49 minutes of the match gone. Guy Graham with the try. And Scotland have points on the board, 55 points to 5 with the kick to come.
It's good line out throw, well taken. This time the slight dubiety over where the ball was dropped. Well, the ball was dropped, whether it went forward or not, we're not sure. But the ball, it looked as if it went straight down. It popped back up into Guy Graham's hands, and he was able to drive over. We've announced it as Finlay Richardson. We think it was Guy Graham who scored. And he managed to barge his way through low and hard to the line and get Scotland's first try.
Ross Thompson then lining up this conversion attempt right on the 22 and that 15 channel. And this will certainly give Scotland, maybe not necessarily a spring in the step, but something, a platform to build some sort of recovery in the second half. And Thompson has added the extras. And you can tell that there's an appreciation for the efforts of the Scotland players, because, my goodness, Brian, they've been up against it.
They have been, but then, we looked at, technical deficiencies earlier on when France ran through with, poor missed tackles. We then, from the kickoff, we went and we talked about Rory Dars, a young kid coming forward, really putting pressure on that French attack, making good tackles. We won the ball back. We then put them under pressure. And because of just work rate and because of sheer determination to get that ball back.
Again, from that restart, stealing a few metres, or certainly a metre or so into Scotland territory when they kicked off their France. But Scotland have done well to turn over the ball, and it's carried now between that 10 and 22. Scotland now, Chapman back to the left hand side, a weighted kick there from Ross Thompson. France covering across there, the ball doesn't find touch. France still playing at a high tempo, the long looped pass there, and France have a 3-on-2 situation here. Can Scotland and Logan Trotter pick up that loose ball? France just closing the door there. I can see that Gibert has come on, taking on the scrum half duties. France beginning to empty the bench. We'll go through those changes in just a second. But Gibert feeding the ball back inside. And Scotland now trying to keep it at least a high defensive line as they're trailing 55 points to 7. 12 minutes of the second half gone. France driving Scotland back just at the moment. Gibert again, he's toppled down, but good pass just on the deck there. And France now lining up just on the edge of their own 22, gathering some momentum again. That's better play there from the captain, bundling France into touch there. Great work there from Robbie Smith, closing the door on the French break, because up in support was Sougari and Touzon, but they were going no further than halfway on this occasion.
And that's great to see, isn't it? And you can just see that the effect it has on the fans. This game is all but gone for Scotland, but little things like that are really important to show how much pride you have in the jersey. That's Robbie Smith, he's a captain, he's a hooker, he's up against Touzon, who's already scored, who's looked dangerous, he's a winger, and he's been hit really hard in the outside channel. A difficult tackle for Robbie Smith to make, but he just had the desire that he was going to make it, and he dragged Touzon into touch.
Robbie Smith then, and the referee allowing that to go, certainly, as it comes back through the hands of Thompson. And there, number 20 is Dilou, one of the latest French players just to come on the field to play in the last minute or so. France, a long loop pass here, they're organising their defence. Logan Trotter now, Trotter waits a kick, he's got 3 French players in front of him. The bounce is kind towards France, and France are still playing the ball with their fullback Mathieu Lebel inside their 22. Lebel carries it beyond the 22 up towards that 10 metre line. In support is Couligar, the loose head prop. But France now looking a little bit more uncomfortable. Demba Bamba carrying it forward a few yards. The referee just intervening as France knocking the ball on there. Scotland have seemed to have found some injection of pace, just adding something to their game in the last few minutes. and France still have the handsome advantage of 55 points to 7, but we're seeing more promising signs in the last couple of minutes, Brian, of Scotland, both in defence and in attack.
Yeah, I think it has. It's come back, it's come from making a couple of big hits. We talked in the first half about getting a foothold and how we do that foothold, and it might have been from a collision. And Rory Darge has made 2, his line speed's been excellent. Robbie Smith's then big hit up on the touchline here, and then been more accurate at lineouts, then been more accurate on keeping ball. So France are now under pressure. We're getting the scrum ball, and we're actually able to put them under a little bit more pressure. So well done to the Scottish boys.
The Edinburgh Accies loose head prop Sean Gunn has left the field. Nathan Macbeth wearing number 17 is on. Now Scotland again through Rory Darge, leading from the front once more, recycled by Chapman. Scotland again taking the ball forward. The look head prop Ewan Johnston of Racing 92 again. The referee though up with play, and Scotland are looking just to try and get through the gears that little bit quicker as France are having to retreat once more. So Scotland central just outside that French 22. There's the little tap in towards Dewhurst. Dewhurst though, it just breaks down on the edge of the 22. A real ooh and ah there from the Scotland crowd. Apart from a clutch of French supporters have been very noisy and continue to be during the course of the game, the rest of the crowd were looking for something really promising there from Scotland.
Yeah, disappointing outcome, but again I wouldn't criticise the effort. Quite right to take a quick tap. Good of Paddy Dewhurst to offer himself to come in to try and have an attack. They actually created a bit of space on that right wing between him and Logan Trotter, but the execution was poor. But the endeavour and the attitude to have a go there, I think, is commendable.
Scotland again, Chapman in position just outside that 22, carried forward, good work there by Finlay Richardson just on the angle. Chapman in behind, just nudging everybody out the way. Again, some weight on that kick there, but just Ross Thompson putting maybe just a little bit too much on the ball. The referee though bringing play back, and Scotland have certainly found something in the last few minutes, and they're certainly not going to let this go with a whimper.
We've seen more mistakes from the French team in the last 3 or 4 minutes than we've seen from the 55 or 50 minutes prior to that, and it's just because Scotland have raised the intensity a little bit, and it's good to see. Even there, going to touch, let's make this line out quick, let's get the accuracy, but let's make it quick and keep the pressure on, because the French have mentally switched off a little bit. They're by far the better team. They're by far, obviously ahead with 55 points to 7. But we have the momentum in this little segment of the game, so let's keep it on.
Again, Scotland just taking their time over this latest set play. The water bottles are on just now. Of course, Rory Darge, a product of North Berwick as well, and will feature, I'm sure, in Scotland squads at this level for years to come, because he's only 17, so he's got a few years still at this level. And I mean, this is a huge learning experience for these Scotland players, because you look at their club experience. Dewhurst playing for Ayr, Logan Trotter still in county, a couple of the guys in the back row playing for Glasgow Hawks as well. We'll get Brian's thoughts on that in a second. As Scotland now driving up 6 metres short of that line, looking to add to their 7-point tally at the moment. The advantage coming Scotland's way. The referee though has now penalised France, and as Chris was saying, the mistakes beginning to then creep into the visitors' game. And a little dust up. Scotland can ill afford to lose their concentration at this stage.
Good throw and a good setup of the drive really quickly. That was all done once the throw came in very quickly, and it didn't allow the French to get in. Scotland had momentum. The French had to infringe coming in at the side, and it was another penalty. Would look to do the same here. Execute the code. We've cut the line out to 5. And we'll see what Scotland do here. Another good throw. Good take by Hodgson.
From a shorter line out, and again Scotland joining in the forwards now with Chapman. He's just got the right foot in position, stoops down, looking to pass. He's got an option on the blind side, but goes towards Thompson. Thompson stops, squares up, 5 metres short of that French line. You can see the posts and the pads. That's where Scotland are aiming for just at the moment, looking to drive forward once more. Again, Chapman in position. He's got options to his right and left. He goes right. Again, great work there from Hodgson. And this is very promising now for Scotland. Great work here. It's going to be over for a second try. Guy Graham. 2 tries in the space of 5 minutes for the white man. And Scotland in a position to double their advantage in this second half, Chris.
So much better. There's much intensity. There's just a bit between your teeth. Sometimes in games, you just have to say, let's roll our sleeves up and let's really have a determination that we're going to win the next period. That's what Scotland have done. They've had a better execution, better quality in around the line-out, and it's caused problems with the French. It should have been a penalty, I believe, from the line-out, but Scotland retained possession. Macbeth went hard. Ross Thompson had a go. Hodgson had a lovely pass out to Thompson, who set Guy Graham free, who had to work really hard to score, get his second try of the evening. Much better.
Vast majority of the crowd appealing for hush as Thompson's kick just wide of the uprights there, and it's now 55 points to 12. You can hear some booing there. I don't know if one or two of the French were maybe doing their bit to try and put the Scotland kicker Ross Thompson off his game there, but much better in the last few minutes.
Yeah, the French like kicking goals with noise, don't they? But Brian, you must be more impressed certainly with the last 50 minutes or 10 minutes or so. Just more intensity in the game.
Far more intensity, and it's great to see that. And that's come from some of the defensive stuff. There's been some more dominant hits. There's been some more go forward in defence. Line speed's been good in defence, and that's been started from. I think we go back to this young 17-year-old boy, Rory Darge. Outstanding he's been in the second half, and everybody else is carrying ball much more.
Sometimes you just need that in a game, a flashpoint, a moment where, and quite often it can be one of the more inexperienced even at this level, just grabbing an opportunity by the scruff of the neck, and that can just sometimes turn the tide somewhat.
Kind of rattled the French in some ways as well. You see Touzon, the right winger, telling his team to calm down. They're getting caught up in the chaos and I suppose the tempo that Scotland are trying to play. Don't forget the French have made 3 or 4 at least substitutions as well, so that's disrupted the momentum. And the Scottish guys are just finding a way to get themselves back into this game. That won't be enough to win, but it's a long championship this. In 2 weeks' time to face England, so you want to get as much out of this game as possible.
Getting a couple of tries as well after last week, only getting the 3 points away in Wales will certainly build some confidence. Chapman in your picture just now, taken on there by Rory Darge once more. He's forced backwards, but Chapman again is in, willing just to feed the ball back to Graham, who scored 2 tries. Guy Graham has had an excellent second half in particular. Thompson under a bit of pressure, clean left-footed kick. France now suddenly just not letting that sail into touch over on that far side, where before they might have tried to make more of an effort to keep it in play. We've played just over an hour, 61 minutes gone. If you're joining us, we very much thank you for your company on Scottish Rugby Live this evening. We're streaming live coverage of the Under-20 Six Nations International from Broadwood Stadium in Cumbernauld. And France have very much bossed this fixture, but Scotland showing some real character in the last few minutes of the game. 55 points to 12, the score, with France with the handsome advantage. But there, again, Scotland pressing that French line. And from the line out there, France not quite as comfortable. Perhaps again, Chris illustrating the point, these replacements have had some sort of impact in the tempo and the fluency of this French side.
Yeah, we'll change the hooker at half time, and they've changed their half-backs. They're really influential. Colville and Intermac just after the third score in the second period. So that was disrupted them, but I think it's more so what Scotland have done. And we also said right at the top of the show that the Irish players last week scored 3 tries in the second half and put a little bit of pressure on the French, who were winning comfortably at half time. The similar stories developed here. We mentioned it may be down to fitness. Who knows if that's right or not, but the game's certainly following a similar trend. That France are still by far the better team and they're going to win the game, but let's see if the Scottish guys can add to their tally.
And Finlay Richardson doing well to steal it at the back of the line. Oh, he held on to it well there, did Callum McClelland. One-handed stuff. And just on the edge of the Scotland 10 as Scotland continue to attack. And they've got a 3-on-2 situation here in tight quarters. Darge in the middle of it all at the moment. So too is Nathan Macbeth, one of the Scotland replacements on just in the last couple of minutes. That's a little bit high from a French point of view of the tackles as Macbeth goes in once more. Chapman in position. Wasn't going to be hurried there. He's eventually floored with a good clean tackle from Diallo, who's just been on for a few minutes, the Frenchman. As Scotland again recycling, more central, still just under 10, looking to recycle some ball. France have managed to win it though, stolen there by number 17 Boniface, just on the field a matter of 30 seconds or so some turnover ball for the French side, leading by 55 points to 12. Oh, another little pass here, he's found a gap and France are going to be in for another score. It's touchdown there, and it's an excellent try by again a replacement, Louis Colonel, the Toulouse man, fly half, the replacement fly half, who's been on for the influential Ntamak, and he may well try and convert his own try. And Bryant, well, you know, against Scotland, just switching off at a very important time there. I was going to bring it back to the interception there by Boniface, just coming on, wanted to make an impression early on. That seemed to turn the tide with them, France winning the turnover ball, and they're absolutely lethal in these situations.
Yeah, on the turnover ball, it was really interesting actually. Before we saw the turnover ball, just on halfway, their scrum half, the replacement scrum half is actually gone off. So France were playing without a 9 there. They'd gone 2 or 3 phases, and then the replacement prop came in at 9 there, picked the ball up and just did a little one-handed offload there to the replacement 10, Garonel, who'd come on, another Toulouse, a Toulon fly half this time, to go into the post. So it just shows how adept they are with their skills. That was a prop one-handed line, 10 running a short line, but again, just a little bit of inaccuracy from Scotland to give France the ball a little bit easy.
Just the understanding, wasn't it, that when the front row forward came in, he actually did really well, because Rory Darge came out of the line, tried to shut down the pass, and then he didn't panic the replacement. He just took his time, and then Carbonell hit a lovely line and then finished off a wonderful step round the fullback to score.
We knock on there as Lucas Touzon was in a little bit of pressure, was trying to judge the flight of the ball. France again going to their bench, and I think it's Vincent, who of Montpellier, the centre. Arthur Vincent has just come on for the final 15 minutes or so.
And he sent Carbonell to number 9. That's a number. The replacement number 10 has been moved to number 9. Now, in French rugby, the 9s and 10s interchange the whole time, so it's probably less disruptive than it maybe would be for other nations. They grow up quite often playing you think of Morgan Parra, I suppose before that LSR, these guys, Michalak, they quite often flip between 9 and 10, but it's something else for the Scottish guys to keep an eye on.
Well, here's a promising situation for Scotland at this stage in the game. We've got about 14 minutes of the second half left to play. If you're just joining us on Scottish Rugby Live, we appreciate your company this evening. France have managed to steal it, and France look at this once more. Again, it's Coronel carrying it up and over that 10-metre line. A lovely little 1-2 here, and France could well be in for another score. The breakaway runner, though, is caught 5 metres from the line. It's picked up once more by Sugari, and Sugari has touched down for another try. Sugari, I think there's a hat-trick of scores for Sugari. With 66 minutes of the second half gone, France just continuing to mount up the tries and looking increasingly dangerous from deep line positions, Chris.
Yeah, it's breaking from depth again, isn't it? It was Scotland's scrum, and they were disrupted at the scrum. The ball came out the back, and then we were just talking about Leonard Carbonell, the replacement standoff moving to scrum half. It was actually him that applied the pressure, won the ball after the dominant scrum, and then took off up the field like he did moments before. Carried again by, I think it was Barassi, the 13, and then Sugari, just really dynamic. Brian, you like him as an inside centre. He scored his 3rd try this evening. He's an impressive player.
I think both 12 and 13, in fact their whole midfield, Ntamak, Sugari, Barassi, have been outstanding this evening. They have been on the front foot, but some of their lines are running, some of their change of angles, but their work rate off the ball has been excellent. Their support lines, just as you say there, that was it was a scrum that we were put under real pressure. 6 came through, picked up the ball quite easy. Hedgie came in, picked up the ball, and then as you say, Garonel, a 10 playing at 9, simple footwork, and then the 12 and 13 running off him. They've been outstanding on the front foot tonight, France.
They seem to have weathered a bit of the storm. When Scotland got their 2 tries, the French guys have just had that quality, had a word with each other, went back to basics and pulled out some sparkling rugby.
The conversion then is a good one. Another converted score then for France. And of course Barassi and Sugari, both Lyon players, so they'll know each other very well indeed, and that certainly helps when you've got players like that can work together, almost a telepathy about them even at this young age. 69 points to 12. And Scotland again will look to their bench just to bring on some fresh legs, some experience at this level. Kyle Rose come off. And Sam Yawa Yawa on for Scotland for these final 10-11 minutes or so, Chris. And you have to say that this has been maybe a bit of a lesson to be playing a French team for the majority of the game, controlling the game at such a tempo as well.
Yeah, one thing that's really impressive as well is how quickly the French players react to a line break or a turnover. They just instinctively know how to support the ball, and just really a great example of it here. Just how quickly they move off the ball to get into attacking situations and have the skill level to keep the ball under pressure.
France then just on the edge of their own 10-metre line. Again, the forwards coming in to support the scrum half, who's now been able to recycle. Good handling there as well from Zagour, who's come back on the field to play. The spell just off on the sidelines, and France carrying it up towards their own 10, just over on that far side. They're tumbled into touch there. So Scotland will play to the finish. They had a good little spell midway through the second half, but you can tell just the temperature in the stadium dropping, and the supporters of the Scottish under-20 side lifted by a spirited display for a portion of the second half, watching on, glancing down at the electronic clock in the far corner. 69 points to 12. The throw in over on that far side will be a Scottish throw, and again they'll look to try and find the back or the middle of the line. Well, it's won well there once again by Hodgson, and Scotland again looking to try and be swift about it. France would try and steal any ball available, but again Scotland looking to recycle and get in a position to do so. They're just beyond their own, the French 10-metre line, fairly central. Again, this is an area of the game that they'll certainly want to work on, I'm sure, as Chapman with a little sort of flat pass there, and he's taken on Guy Graham with his 2 Scotland tries. He of course is on a hat-trick. Chapman back in field. Scotland stooping down and gathering the ball. Once again, that was taken on well by Nathan Macbeth. But again, the French are penalised and Scotland go once more. Chapman, a 1 and 2 situation there. It didn't really favour the young Scottish scrum half, and France now playing a little bit of football. Sorry, Chris, I just interrupted you there.
No, it was really good by Chapman to take the quick tap penalty, then show wonderful footwork. Just frustrating to turn the ball over. Now Paddy Dew has his opportunity to counter-attack, but he's always getting shadowed out to the touchline there by Seguru, the inside centre. Better from Scotland. Jamie Hodgson has been one of the picks of the Scottish side for me. He's although the line hasn't been 100%, when he's been at the top of that jump, he's controlled the line. He's done really well. He's offered himself to carry, and there he barged through the line out in order to set up Charlie Chapman for his attack. Chapman's now being replaced. He's been sharpening around the breakdown as well. Some nice touches from him, but the French are just so comfortable, aren't they? Even from that turnover from Chapman's break, just the instinct to get on the ball and attack is, it's, you know, from a neutral's point of view, it's great to see.
Barretto and Clements on for the final few minutes. Again, that seemed to drift a little bit, that throw in there, but France allowed to continue up towards halfway. Again, recycled back in field, stooped down and gathered there by Laveau. And then interception there from Scotland, stolen well there by Rory McMichael of Glasgow Hawks, just on. Swift play also by Barretto, just on the field. Scotland now again showing some urgency. Barretto with the measured pass on towards his standoff. It goes through again the centres. A quick touch from McClelland out towards that left-hand side. And Scotland trying to use the full width of the park now as we're into the final 8 minutes of this contest here at Broadwood Stadium. 69 points to 12. The French have the lead in the closing minutes, but again Darge on towards this right hand side, and this is better play. Dewhurst is eventually tumbled to the ground, and the ball is just knocked into touch there. I think it just came off the back of the shoulder of Ewan Johnston, but the referee just bringing play back, and Scotland will remain on the French 10.
Yeah, it's offside again. Penalty to Scotland. Nurse Thompson's going to kick it in the touch, but Scotland have to keep this tempo up. You can see the body language of the French players trudging back towards the line out. They've put everything they have into this match. But Scotland have looked more dangerous when they've had a tempo and an accuracy to their game, rather than the reactive notion of the first half, where they were waiting to see what France did, whether it be in attack or defence. And of course they didn't have a lot of possession in the first half either. But when they have had possession, I think they should continue to play with intensity and speed as best they can.
From the line out, but untidy, but Scotland have managed to get bodies on the ball and drive inside that 22 as they made another change. The bench, I think they pretty much emptied their bench now, Scotland, but they're on the attack just at the moment. You can see just the lines in the screen there giving you an indication how close we are to those Scotland posts. That's a better image for you, but one of the Scotland players receiving a bit of treatment is down at the moment. There's going to be some tired players there. The French defence just tested. You can see the clock showing we played 73.5 minutes of the match. So into the final 10, 6.5 left to play, and Scotland again will look to try and get some assured ball from this line out, being so close as they are to the French line. And of course from a similar position they were somewhat successful with Guy Graham's opening try earlier on in the half.
Yeah, similar play as well, the 5-man line out plus Gary Graham at scrum half. He's in now on the maul. It's a similar play. The French have dragged it down.
Yeah.
Should be a penalty advantage to Scotland unless they can score.
The advantage certainly coming Scotland's way, but they get the drive on once more, directed there, you can see, by Barreto at number 21. And France, well, they're just at 6s and 7s at the moment as they try and get themselves organised. Here's the ball in the picture is spilled back. Barreto now stoops the ball down on towards there. Thompson comes back now. McClellan just on the angle. Oh, and he just could not find Paddy Dewhurst with the pass. France have managed to steal it, but of course the advantage was being played, so that was some free ball opportunity there for Scotland. And we've now 5.5 minutes of the half left to play. But I suppose from a supporter's point of view as well, we'll get the thoughts quickly of Brian. I mean, to finish on the front foot despite a heavy defeat or facing a heavy defeat is going to give them something to work on at least.
I think it has. I think it's shown a bit of mettle from Scotland as well. You know, they've been really under the cosh the whole game, but when they've lifted the intensity of the game, they've looked as if they've had something to show against this French side. Good to see them going the line out again. Their 5+1 line out has worked really well. The 5+1 means you're 5 in the line out plus 1 forward at scrum half, which allows him to get in early. Same line out.
Throw in again, aimed at the lock forward. Jamie Hodgson wins it securely, and Scotland now driving. Are they going to be over? They splinter. I think they've managed to successfully touch down. It's a penalty try, in fact. So there's 7 points for the hard work of the Scotland forwards in the last few minutes. And not for the first time they've come up trumps when they've had a line out 5 metres from the French line. It might seem like scant consolation, but at least it's given them some purpose as they head back towards halfway.
Yeah, it's exactly the same line out again, that 5-man plus 1. I think Nathan Macbeth had scored anyway, but the referee, Dickinson, had already given the penalty try, or just simultaneously given the penalty try. There's also a yellow card as well flashed just there. I'm not sure if it's Boniface or Beria for France. We'll just see who trudges up. There was a yellow card flashed by Carl Dickinson, the referee. So it's France down to 14 men.
With the restart then, France have now just 4 minutes to see this game out, but Scotland and this man Guy Graham on a hat-trick of tries, carrying it outside the 22. He's worked very hard, particularly in this second half. The route there blocked off as the Le Bleus get themselves organised once more, but a crossfield kick there from Ross Thompson. It was gathered from the replacement scrum half there, Barreto, and Thompson kicked downfield. France though looking to return the ball with interest. They've got plenty of replacements on and looking to try and show what they can do for future selection in this Six Nations Championship, which have 6 weeks or so left to play. Of course, 3 matches for these sides still to play now. The knock on there, and the advantage is Scotland's, and they'll look through Barreto to try and do something with this just beyond their own 10 metre line. This time Stafford McDowell, the vice captain, takes it back into contact. Barreto on towards there. Dewhurst carrying it up towards halfway, the clock ticking down. Barreto back in field this time, carried forward, and Scotland will work to the finish as Barreto again quickly recycles, juggled there, but Ewan Johnston was able to secure possession. Barreto goes once more just on the heels there. Thompson goes flat this time, left-footed grubber kick, trundles into touch just beyond that 10 metre line, closer to the 10 than the 22 as you can see, and it's what about 2.5 minutes or so left of the game to play now, and Scotland, well, they're certainly offensive whenever they get the opportunity, as you'd expect, and as Brian touched on, Chris, as well, they're showing some mettle in the last few minutes just to try and ensure that they can see this game out before France get up the other end of the park and maybe cause more damage.
Well, the most and the best the best period of the game to show mettle was just after half time when Scotland conceded 3 tries in quick succession, 2 immediately from the kickoff. They won immediately from the kickoff and then 2 from kickoffs thereafter. Really quick succession. And they had to dig into that point, and they did, and it took a couple of young guys to step up and bring an intensity, and Scotland fed off the back of that, and they're finishing a little bit stronger here as well. Just want to keep hands in possession. Stafford McDowell needs to carry forward. He does. He gets over the gain line, and Scotland hopefully can keep possession and keep adding pressure, applying pressure to France.
Barreto just tries to scramble away there up towards the edge of that 22, a tricky customer to bring down. Graham this time on towards once more Rory Darge. He's done very well indeed. That's been really his token contribution to the match, has been that physical presence that he's offered, and that determination. It's just juggled, not quite controlled there by Callum McClelland as it's spilled loose. And France, have they done enough? Scotland, I think, has knocked on there through McClelland, not been able to gather the ball in. 1611 here at Broadwood to watch this evening. And gents, with just a couple of minutes left to play, in fact we're almost inside the final minute now. Tricky question, who would be your man of the match?
So many French options to choose from. We've always got a hat-trick, and Adrien Segre in the midfield, the number 12 for France. I think both props, Collingar and Bamba, have been outstanding. There's a solidity to their front five, but the one guy who had just that little bit more class, I think, was Romain Ntamak. When the pressure was still on at the start of the game, he made 1 or 2 telling contributions. His goal kicking was immaculate. His attacking play, his kicking from hand, set up the platform for this victory. So the player of the match would be number 10, Romain Ntamak. He only played for 55 minutes, but there's a lot of class in that young man.
That's the contribution then. The thoughts of Chris Patterson, a man who will certainly appreciate the skills of the starting French number 10. And I don't think Brian Easton would disagree with that option, but this is good play here from Barreto up towards a nice little offload, and now Paddy Dewhurst inside that 22. Dewhurst, he almost lost his jersey there, but he's still going. Such is the determination. Into the final few seconds, the clock about to go red. Guy Graham, eyes there on a hat-trick of tries, caught 5 metres short of the Scotland line. You can hear now the volume increasing around Broadwood Stadium. Barreto back inside there, carried forward. That looked like Rory Darge in position again. Barreto, as the momentum has dropped just ever so slightly, you can see that the Scotland players lining up, looking and driving towards that try line. This time Barreto in position again, another good feed there. Thompson goes left, right, left again, but again he can only make just a metre or so before he's brought tumbling to the ground. Barreto, France now a more mobile French defence. The Blues lining up here just to try and prevent Scotland as the clock has gone red. Scotland, the ball is spilled there, it comes back. France, I think, will just be happy. Well, I would have thought just to play that into touch there, but such is the nature of this French team, they're not quite satisfied just at the moment with their efforts. They now kicked the ball into touch there. The final play was Piers Blanquest just touching it into the off-field area, and therein is full time. And it really has to be said, chaps, it's been a breathless 80 minutes here at Broadwood. France have brought a very easy on the eye, attacking style of rugby here to Broadwood Stadium this evening. And Scotland, great credit to them. They did stick in, they did dig deep, particularly for a period of the second half, but they were second best this evening.
They were absolutely 69 points to 12, second best. The first half was outstanding from France. They set the platform from the set piece. They had an attacking instinct. They had quality all through their game. Scotland did really well to fight back, to come back after losing 3 early tries in the second half as well. So there's a determination in there. Rory Darge stepped up their play. We mentioned his name time and time again. Jamie Hodgson, I thought, did well. Guy Graham deserved his 2 tries because he was tough and he was hard in and around the breakdown. He worked really hard in there as well. So some crumbs of comfort from Scotland, but ultimately they were a long way short of a class French side. The French lost their way a little bit in the second half, but then finished off strongly. 9 tries, I make it for the French, an impressive win, and they'll move ahead in the Six Nations and be a threat to anyone. Scotland, they'll face England in 2 weeks' time, and they'll have to improve in this.
And Brian as well, yourself as a an observer here this evening, and many, I would imagine, at Murrayfield will be watching with great interest at the pool of talent here and how these French players are produced. Now, of course, France have a much greater population and a bigger pool of players to choose from once the players reach this sort of elite level at under 20s, but it was certainly a very impressive performance from the French tonight, and I would imagine that in the days to come there'll be plenty of people that will be just picking away at aspects of this French performance to see if they can just make some improvements at individual and collective levels in the Scottish squad.
Of course they will, and it's exciting to watch these young French players like that, and they from start to finish they really showed from 1 to 15, from 1 to 23 the skill levels that they have. But in the Scottish team as well, I agree with Chris. I thought Jamie Hodgson really worked hard. I thought Guy Graham was excellent, and I thought Rory Darge when he came on was he gave a little bit of something extra, a little bit more intensity in that. And playing against a team like that, a French team like that, or any side, you learn. You've got to come away and having learned something from it, the pace that they play at, the intensity and the speed. And when Scotland did play at intensity and a little bit of speed, they put the French under pressure. The French started making a few more mistakes, but back to your point, it was an exciting game to watch and a really good French side to watch tonight.
And all in all, with the response of the Scots in the second half and the approach from this French side, a very good advert for rugby in the Northern Hemisphere at this level, as France will look to the challenges that lie ahead for them. That's a win over Ireland and a comprehensive one as well over Scotland. Scotland, of course, losing last weekend to Wales. They'll dust themselves down after this evening's match here tonight at Broadwood of England in a couple of weeks' time to look forward to as well. But Scotland just on the losing end tonight. 3 tries for them. Guy Graham with 2, a penalty try as well, but 9 tries for the French side. They're taking the applause of a clutch of French supporters that have made their way, many of them coming through from Edinburgh for this evening's fixture here in Cumbernauld. Scotland and Stevie Scott will lead the conversation, I'm sure, in the huddle and the dressing room afterwards. And it's just a reminder of the final score here at Cumbernauld. It finished Scotland 19, France 69.